Authoritarianism isn't completely new to American history. In fact, the history of the whole of the West is peppered with examples of or origins in authoritarian rule. If you look at my own country, Britain for example, we were an authoritarian state run by a monarch who was deemed to have been put in place by God to rule over us in totality. Then eventually we evolved to become a parliamentary democracy. In the US, the country was actually set up as a constitutional republic, a democracy in the first place. But that doesn't mean there haven't been regular flourishes of authoritarian impulses that have emerged throughout its history. If we go all the way back to Andrew Jackson, for example, one of the early presidents of the United States, he set up internment camps for Native Americans and actually boxed them in, took them away from their own lands and boxed them in. And this was ruled as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, but he did it anyway. He carried on in flagrant disregard for the rulings of the Supreme Court to undertake this heinous act. And it's a big part in American history and what led to the growth and development of the US ultimately. If we look more recently to Truman, during the Korean War, he needed steel in order to help defense contractors to manufacture the machinery and the armory that was needed for the war effort. And because steelworkers went on strike and didn't want to participate in that, he actually took them over. And yet Congress then responded saying that you can't do that. That's not allowed. But he did it anyway. He ignored the other branch of government, the co-equal branch of government, and proceeded with the act of forcibly taking over steel companies. And then the moment of great shame took place by a president who is also greatly revered for the truly progressive and humanitarian work he did. But there's one thing that he did that is a real stain on his legacy, which was FDR and the internment he then brought about for people of Japanese descent, locking up anybody of Japanese descent in the US during the Second World War. Again, that's considered to be a policy of great shame in American history. But that is also an example in which a president willfully exceeded their authority. So there has been regular eruptions of authoritarianism throughout American history, and Trump, of course, is an extreme and aberrant version of that. But almost certainly, if we maintain the system exactly as it is, then there's no question that that will happen again, and it could happen even worse next time by people who have learned from the Trump experience and gone away and thought about it and game planned how to take it to the next stage and defeat democracy altogether. This is why I talk a lot in this channel about the importance of deepening our democracy, the importance of making sure that we can all participate in the democratic process, using technology to ensure that everybody gets the opportunity to have a say in decisions that are made, not just in focus groups or opinion polls, not just consultations or official exercises, but actually enshrined into the way that legislation is created, participation by people on the ground and using technology to do that. So we can all participate in the way that legislation is made. I've talked about some solutions around that. I'll talk more about that in future. But clearly, our current system is vulnerable. Those vulnerabilities have been tested time and time again. Trump is the latest and greatest threat and test to the system. Whether it survives or not, we'll see. But we know that in the longer term, over hundreds or thousands of years, its vulnerability is very, very great. And so it's down to all of us to try to help create solutions for the future, which involves actually deepening our democracy and enabling us all to participate together. I'll, of course, be talking more about this in future, but also about the twists and turns we're seeing in this latest iteration of authoritarianism, the greatest threat that we've seen to the American experiment since its inception. Thank you for watching my video. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm also interested in philosophy and public policy and politics. And I aim to make a number of videos about these subjects and particularly the intersection between them. If you're able to like and subscribe to this channel, then it'll really help, and also put in some comments whenever you can. That'll really help the algorithm. It'll really help promote this channel to other people. Now, beyond that, we are all, unfortunately, at the behest of a very small number of people who seem to run everything these days. And we are all at the whim of a tech oligarch who could decide tomorrow to end a channel like this because it's not in their favor. And because of that, I've set up a kind of email newsletter, which you can subscribe to. At the top of the channel, you'll see a web address. Please go there and subscribe to my newsletter. That way you can stay in touch with the videos I'm making. At least we can keep the content flowing. So I hope you can do that. And I hope we can keep talking and also gain clarity, not just about what's happening right now, but how we can get through this, how we can improve things to make a better tomorrow together. Thank you.